Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. This is a question I've seen a lot of places online since this card came out in the new set. Amy controls a Leyline of the Guildpact, and Nick controls a Blood Moon. What colors can Amy's lands tap for? Okay, so the first thing I wanted to point out is that Leyline applies to all Amy's lands, whereas Blood Moon only applies to non-basic lands. So Amy's basic lands can always tap for any color while both these enchantments are in play, because Blood Moon doesn't apply to those lands at all. Of course, the situation is a little bit more interesting if we consider the non-basic lands. In that case, we have two continuous effects that both want to change what land types those lands have. There's no dependency between these effects, so the game uses timestamps to decide what order that they apply. I think most of the time this situation comes up, the enchantment that requires 4 colored mana to cast would have come into play before the Blood Moon, in which case Amy's lands would get all basic land types first before Blood Moon overwrites that to having them just be mountains. If the Blood Moon came into play first, these effects would apply in the opposite order, meaning that Amy would get the favorable outcome of being able to tap for all colors. Now, one kind of screwy thing that you would have no way to know unless somebody had already told you about it is that if you set a land's subtype without saying in addition to its other types, then that would cause the land to lose all the abilities it normally has as well. That's true even if something else gives the land all those types back later. The Blood Moon takes away all the abilities from Amy's non-basic lands when it applies, and Leyline of the Guildpact doesn't do anything to put those abilities back. It just lets the lands tap for some more colors. Therefore, no matter what order these two enchantments enter the battlefield, Amy's non-basic lands won't have any abilities other than the ones that they get by virtue of the basic land types that they end up having. Well, that's kind of a bummer, but here's something that might cheer you up. While I was researching for this episode, I noticed something really interesting. It turns out that Leyline of the Guildpact actually has a third ability discreetly crammed in between its two relevant ones. So how about a question related to that ability? Let's say Amy controls a Leyline and then she plays Vestige of Emrakul. What colors would her creature be? Alright, I guess I should probably apologize here because this question actually has a little bit of a trick. So, if you are just going based off of what we talked about so far, you probably would have said that the Vestige of Emrakul should be colorless, because the Devoid ability has a later timestamp than the Leyline ability that makes it all colors. Now, it is true that the timestamps would indicate that, but it turns out there's one other important fact that's relevant here, which is that Devoid is a characteristic defining ability. If you'd like a technical description of what that is, you can pause the video here and confirm that it meets all of the required criteria. And I'm sure the good people of the comments section can point out why Devoid counts but Blood Moon effect doesn't. For now, I'll just stick to the colloquial description that a CDA is an ability that sets a characteristic of the card that it's on. In the case of Devoid, that characteristic is color. Now, this is important because characteristic defining abilities actually always apply first in their appropriate layer, regardless of timestamps. This means Leyline of the Guildpact will apply after Devoid no matter what order those two permanents entered the battlefield. Pretty interesting, right? That's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling. Until then, I hope you have a great day.